using technology. There's a new technology, relatively new, called biotechnology or genetic technology. So we now use such techniques to be able to now make some adjustments, some modifications to the normal crop genetic material. What is the purpose of such modification? Because we want to see whether we can achieve some improvement in some characteristics that were already there. For instance, if a crop is not resistant to certain pests, then we might be able to, by such a modification, be able to now imbue that crop with resistance to a particular pest. Or resistant to a particular herbicide, for instance. So if that crop that is our plant, for instance, if it is maize, if we're now able to embed within it the trait of being resistant to a certain herbicide, then it means that that maize will be able to, can use that herbicide to control weeds, and then it will not affect the maize. So creating some kind of advantage. So those are some of the motivations for the use of genetic engineering that leads to genetically modified crops. So that is basically the technology. So we're just tinkering, engineering. They call it genetic engineering. We're making changes, but remember that it is changes or adjustments we're making. The genes are already there. We're not creating fresh new ones. We're not making new crops. It's just the ones that are already there. Maize, soya that are already there, that nature provides, and we're coming to make some modifications, experimental, to now see whether we can get new traits. Yes. So that's basically...
But the modifications are artificial. Yes, they resemble...
Yes. Artificial, meaning by man. They are done by man,
But is it in the
nature.
same quality? So let's say now they get to the plant and they are trying to make it resistant to herbicide or to a particular pest. That's an example you gave. It means that they would have to boost that part of the cell responsible for resistance. Boosting it, are they going to be giving it the same chemical as naturally made, or is it going to have a bit of a difference since it is man-made?
Oh, well, it's when they make such modification, it's not as if the gene becomes different. These are all molecules. So if they make the modification and they get it right, then the gene will still start acting as if it were the natural one. That is, it will still act. For instance, what I'm trying to tell you is this gene that is imbues that plant with crop resistance is probably available in another plant, for instance.
Okay.
So during those modifications, they can transfer the gene, that particular part that gives that plant resistance, and then make it to now enter the new plant, the one you want, you're interested in. Then that plant will now acquire the new characteristic. It's not as if they start from beginning and start synthesizing the genetic material. No. They are doing modifications. They see a characteristic here. Then using the technology, they're able to cut out gene from here and transfer to this other one. And that one will now start behaving as if it originally had that characteristic.
Okay, so now you've mentioned their concerns. You probably must have heard some of the argument. You and I even had a conversation.
Yes, what you read,
Yeah, we had a conversation on Saturday. So, what are some of the advantages? I mean, I could talk about some of them from the top of my head, talk about boosting food production, and it has economic value. But apart from this, what really is the advantage of having genetically modified foods in Nigeria?
Okay, you mean the advantage?
Yeah. Some of the advantages.
Yeah. Those traits, there's always a drive for improvements. People are trying to improve yield. Yield or agricultural yield, so that they can have more yield and then be able to feed more people. And then don't forget that the way the agri system is run today is run as a business, agribusiness. Businesses are there to make profit. So any intervention or technology they can bring to bear that will allow them to maximize productivity, they will naturally do it. So generally, if something will give them more, allow them to have more resistance to pests, so that they won't spend all their money on pesticides, they will go for it. So the question is really always about cost-benefit analysis. Cost-benefit analysis. What benefits are you getting, and what side effects or costs? You need to weigh the two, because every intervention always comes with some kind of unintended or side effects, just like we have with pharmaceutical drugs. So as a people, as a society, people need to come and not rush into a new technology, but to be able to give time to allow it to sink in, so that the actual benefit will be weighed against the side effects or possible harmful effects, and then we'll know whether this technology is really worth adopting. Yeah. So I think even globally, GMOs are something that you can't say it has gained traction over the whole agricultural system. It's still being introduced. It's almost like just about 15% of the global acreage of crops is under GMO.
About how many percent?
More, yeah, 15%. Yes,
only 15%. Okay.
Yes, only 15%. So it has not really gotten overall wide adoption. Only about 15%. Yes. So the other ones are still going by traditional methods. Yes, and that's understandable, because this is a new technology. It would take time for us to be able to actually see the overall effects and be able to decide, whether this technology, when we weigh the benefits and the risks, whether it's worth adopting.
Okay.
Yes. So
sorry, I want to cut you. We'll go for a quick commercial, but when we come back, I'd like to get your thoughts about the GMO, what you think about, genetically modified foods, because it's something that some people are pushing should be adopted in Nigeria, despite the arable land in abundance that we have. Do stay tuned. Please stay on the line. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's all right.
The show.
University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Mr. Frank Onah. There's a message, I don't know, the person probably knows you very well, who says, Frank Onah is a top guy, first-class student of physics and astronomy, left medicine to study physics. Obviously, physics, he felt, should be more challenging than medicine. Is that truly your story?
I laugh.
All right. So quickly, we have an announcement. We'll take the announcement and we get back to our conversation. What do you have for us now?
Wazobia perfume.
All right, tell us about it.
Wazobia perfume. It's introducing the essence of true authenticity in fragrance.
And Frank Onah is with me on the show. Now, what have I learned in the first half of the show, in the first 20 minutes of the show? I've learned 15% of the world food production is from genetically modified processes, and that genetically modified process does not mean it is synthetic. It means that different attributes are taken from different plants and put into a particular plant to make it more robust, more rounded, more solid, to help food supply and food security. But I do know their concerns, and so I'm going to go to Mr. Frank Onah now to tell me, what are his thoughts generally as a scientist, as someone who has dabbled with physics, astronomy, and medicine. As a scientist, what would you consider, or how would you consider genetically modified foods?
Okay. Thanks, Canada.
Yeah.
I think I will approach it by just itemizing a number of points, about 3 or 4 points, concerning the whole GMO. One is to look at it as a technology that's trying to make inroads. And an instance is just the way that there's the talk about AI in computing and cyber technology. So whenever there's a new tech, a lot of concerns about risks of disruption of the old technology, then risks of unintended, unknown consequences. Yes, unknown in the sense that this is new, even to the researchers. They don't yet have an ground experience of it. You're making some modification, like experimental in the lab, and you're trying to push it out into the world of nature. The world of nature is already a system that has been operating for millions of years. So this new intervention is something quite new and untested. So how do you know how it will behave when it goes into the natural system? You don't yet know. And that's where many of those risks come in. So when we have such new technologies, what is usually recommended is that we take some time and create test beds. What I mean by test beds is you don't just push the technology out into the field before we have some experience with it. You create some a sample or system where the technology, you're trying it out, not yet on a mass basis. Then as the technology is being tried out, you're collecting and gaining data and experience about the behavior of that system in certain controlled settings. Then it is the information you now get by the behavior of that system in a more controlled setting that can now inform you, your decision on now whether to now move it to the next level of, trying it out in the real, a bigger space. That's the real world space. So that's it. That's what I feel will be the way forward in terms of a new technology like genetically modified. But now let's talk about it in the Nigerian context, because you see, if this technology is being invented, developed, R&D about it is being done by foreign powers, Western powers, other countries that are abroad. And then we are just there. We're not the ones doing it. We're not the ones. We don't have any control of the technology. And we don't, upgrade ourselves to be able to now have some measure of input and control in the technology. Then we're going to be more of like passive receivers of this technology. It's either we say we don't want to have anything to do with it at all, which means that people are moving and we're left behind, or if other people are using it and moving and we don't get actively involved, then it means that we're going to be passive receivers. And when we're passive receivers, it means that we don't have control and we can easily be manipulated, because people are driven by other motivations, not just charity and humanitarian. They may be driven by more of greed and the profit motive. So that is why it is important that as a people, as a country, we have a policy about it, that we have to, a policy that will serve the interests of our people much more than those foreign interests. So we need to embrace the technology and now have measure of national control over it.
Let's stay with input control and being a part of the process. Do you think we have the right structures? I'm looking at NAFDAC. I'm looking at Standard Organization of Nigeria. I'm looking at several other, you mentioned biotech. I do believe we have, that in Nigeria as well, biotech, departments and associations. Do you think those structures or those agencies have got the capacity, to put give inputs or to be part of the process, or to even say this is not good, this is good? Do you think we do have the capacity as a country?
There are limitations. There are a lot of limitations, and these limitations are not peculiar to those agencies per se. That is, if you're talking about NAFDAC or NABDA, the National Biotechnology Agency, or even Standard Organization of Nigeria. It has to do with our polity and our country and the kind of culture, political and social culture we have developed and we're practicing. Do we emphasize doing things by ourselves, productivity, or do we just prefer easy and passive consumption of foreign-made goods? I don't know. So it comes in with that, because this is also a technology. So if our overall drive is in, we want to be the ones doing our own thing, even if it is local, even if it's primitive. They say the young shall grow. You might start out, we're always given an example of Taiwan. There was a time when Taiwan imported goods and the other technological products from Taiwan. They were regarded as inferior. But now, in the modern day time, we know they are no longer regarded. Those from Asian countries, they have modernized. It took some time. So it's not about the level. It's about who is in control of the technology. If the country decides to be more in control of the things they use, then we make efforts in those directions. Yes, it might, because maybe or some other countries had started out earlier. They may be ahead. Yes, no problem. But you have your own plan. You start. It might be crude. You kind of cocoon yourself and then do the necessary work, and then there will be an upgrade with time. But most important is that you are the one controlling the technology. It's not just about saying there is globalization, anybody can do anything and import anything. No, there must be certain controls, because you're looking at what is of interest to the country and to the people. Now, when people give the idea, it's all about food security, that they are doing the GMO so that they will now increase crop productivity, so there will be food security for huge population. the question is whose interest is this kind of thinking serving? We have a population, we have the need for food here. Why don't the people, our own people, be the one producing the food they eat to serve themselves instead of becoming dependent on other people? And then we'll now talk about that there is no employment, where it is our talents and our labor that would have been employed in providing this food locally. Whether we decide to do it in a local, organic, or natural way, or using mechanized and synthetic ways, that's just about a choice. But the important thing is that it is being controlled by us. The one that we can't yet control, we say, okay, let's wait. Okay?
All right. So
then we'll now make the effort to now domicile the technology. Yes.
So your advice is for us to wait, since we do not understand it fully. But let's talk quality, because we're still talking.
Yes. In areas where we don't understand fully, we wait, but not passive waiting. While we're waiting, we're doing things.
All right.
We can be doing test beds, R&Ds, while we're waiting.
All right. So let's stay with control, right? And the reason I want to stay with control is quality. Some people say the one that nature births is of higher quality than the one that is genetically modified. You heard when I read the article from Business Day sometime January of this year, and one person made the argument that the seeds of genetically modified foods do not have the ability to reproduce, as efficiently as the one from nature. Can you speak to that as a scientist?
Okay. Now the charge about quality. Yes, let's look at quality, for instance. We'll come back to the seed, the nature of the seed, but let's look at quality. Before GMO, what was the the prevalent technology for agriculture? Is mechanization and use of agrochemicals and fertilizer. That's industrial agriculture, right? But that system was not the original old form of agriculture. We had something that was much more organic without the use of so much chemicals. But then that one was said to be more labor intensive, isn't it? There's the use of manure and then recycling of manure, and all that to produce, instead of depending on inputs from fertilizer that comes from far away industries, and also a lot of chemicals from fossil fuels. So that's organic and natural methods of growing food. So people say population is increasing. We cannot depend on this slow method of agriculture. So let's fast forward this thing. And then the push now for use of mechanized method. But everything comes with its own consequence. Do you notice that, yes, we now have increasing yields, right? We now have increasing yields. There's more productivity because you're now using machine. What one man, 100 men would have done, one machine will come and do it, powered by what? The energy of fossil fuels. So yes, but what has now finally happened is that we now have increase in quantity, but loss of what? Quality. Yes. One thing you must know about fertilizers, for instance, is there are many nutrients that the crops need from the soil.
Okay.
There are so many of them. If you count them, they're almost reaching up to 50. But then what you find in fertilizers are just the major nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Maybe they add sulfur and calcium here and there. Just few. Now, in a natural soil, in a natural system in a forest, all these other micronutrients are being absorbed and used by the plants to build up what? Nutrient density, to build up resilience, to build up immunity. Now, what you now find in those ones that are fed with fertilizers is that they grow big, because these are the major nutrients that they use to make their carbohydrates and proteins and lipids. But then all these other ones that depend on vitamins, phytonutrients, where you need those minerals, they will not be there. Or even if they are there, they won't be there to the same extent. So what you end up eating is lots and lots of calories. Yes, you're not going to die, you're not going to starve, but you're going to now lack resilience, because you then no longer have all those micronutrients that normally naturally comes from a natural soil. So are we now emphasizing quantity over quality? And then if we emphasize quantity, will our health not suffer? Is that not what is happening in the global agricultural scene today, even in the developed countries? Because they are the ones pushing at the forefront of industrial agriculture, which is now trying to morph into GMO. GMO is just like another addition to that system. So you now find that if we're now eating more of quantity, calories, and less of those other things that will give us health and resilience, what do you expect? The body will be weakened because it's not getting what it needs over time. And then you find out that there will be an increase in prevalence of all these degenerative diseases that people normally suffer over time. And people are always saying, where is it coming from? Where is it coming from? It has to do with our lifestyle and the things we eat, the nature of our food, which has changed. It may not have been like that in the old time because the older people usually live quite long. Yes. So you now find out that this issue about quantity now over quality, because people are saying that population is increasing. Yes. So are we making a choice now that we want people to have quantity? You're going because you eat calories. You're probably not burning them up by being mobile and active. Those natural be there, or not at the same extent. So you now find, you see, these are consequences. The same population you say you're protecting, at the end of the day, a lot of people will be dying from cancers, diabetes, kidney disease, liver disease, and all that. Where are all those things coming from? You lack the phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, and you're pushing a lot of chemicals. These chemicals are alien to the body system. Then they are the things that will lead to those degenerative diseases, among other things. So this thing is about knowledge and choice. You know about the system. If you don't know, you won't be able to take the right decision. Then you must also be able to also exert control. Because if you don't exert control, then the forces that will control you will push those things that are not to your interest in the name of commercial profit. No. Health has to be there, has to be considered. The overall health of the people has to be at the forefront too, apart from just the narrow making of profit. Because if we end up making all these profits and people end up dying later, I don't know which one is even a better choice. It's just about people dying early versus people dying later. I think. Yeah.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah.
You think?
Yes. So about how GMO now, because I talked about chemicals, just not intervention that emphasizes. Maybe, for instance, you want to increase yield. If you say you're increasing yield, have you been able to add things in the soil that will make this thing not to just be an empty increase in calorific yield? No, I have not seen it. GMO doesn't add minerals and phytonutrients. What GMO does is to other interventions. So those ones are absorbed. They are minerals, so they must be absorbed from the soil. And there's no way GMO can do that. So all I'm trying to say is that there are serious choices that have to be made here. Whether are we, and then even when we talk about the profit motive, this profit motive is by maybe the agro companies, the corporations who are the big concerns and the agriculture. System.
All right.
So
I'm out of time, right? I'm out of time, so I would have to stop at this point. But I want to ask one more question, and that is, Nigeria is known for its fertile ground, right? The southeast, in the south, in almost every part of the country, even all the parts of the country. Do we need genetically modified? Even let's look at it even from a profit-based angle. Do we need genetically modified, or do we need people to begin to farm in numbers for us to have that food sustenance that we desire? Because we have arable soil.
No, I do not think that it is a lack of genetically modified food that is what is making us not to have the food secure. That's lacking food security. There are other more pertinent issues, not yet GMO. One can't make that argument yet. For instance, the issue of insecurity in the country, the issue about that, are we striving to be the ones that are producing our own food locally, using the methods we know? Because when you depend so much on methods that you don't have control over, you become dependent. Dependency is not good because it means you have lost your ability. you can now be manipulated. And when there are situations, it has security implications, because there are situations when you may be cut off from that dependency. And then what will you do if you haven't developed the sufficiency to feed yourself, especially in something as critical as food? Food sufficiency. You don't make yourself so dependent on foreign powers and systems that you don't have control over, because that could easily be used against you. So yes, we have arable land. We also have something that is very critical for agriculture, which is water, rain, water, and rivers and streams. So it's to deploy standard methods of agriculture. If GMO will come, it won't be at the forefront. It won't be so big. Since this is a system we need to understand yet, let's leave it. Let's us, take control of our food security. These are not pressing whether we should now. Who are the ones pushing for this GMO coming? Who are they, and what is their motivation? Which question? Then we run the risk of this now held by in Iran we don't have any control over. So start take on that. There are more fundamental things we need to do, which is for the agricultural system, solve the problem of bad governance. The farmers are already doing so, just need to be supported. What they are doing, but as they are now progressing along the line, we now feel there will be a niche for genetically modified. At time it will happen.
But I think I'm out of time. But I'm going to gamble. The genetically modified.
Yeah, the seeds.
Is it going to be the fertilizer? Is it have an impact? Is it going to be like marijuana to brain of soil?
Okay, you're asking about them. Now that's what it is, and decide that they want to make seeds. It's something they can also engineer. What you find out is that it has the ability and they're able to make farmers to keep buying this every year. That's a dependency. The number that farmers traditional seeds were from what you produced last time, some seeds for the next generation. Now it's autonomy, and you're now going to virtually depend. That kind of dependency is what we are talking about. If we let the system that produces those seedlings look, it be our people that are producing, so that if anything we go to hold. I don't know. Even the seed companies will be regulated. Will be under regulation.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Onah. But you see, 1 hour is not enough. The 50 minutes we've had is not enough for the conversation. But we still have. We still have.
I didn't even know 50 minutes.
Yes, it's been an interactive conversation. Sorry. But one thing I've learned on the show is, although it's not synthetic, the genes from one plant can be used to strengthen another. But while that is happening, we're not very sure if those genes are also added certain chemicals like we see with fertilizers, right? We're not certain about that. So we can't even be certain as to whether the modification is safe in terms of edibility, right? And these are some of the concerns. And then we've also said that we do not know if our agencies have the required tools and the required capacity to moderate, just like NAFDAC would do with certain foods being imported into the country and say, okay, this chemical is not good, this item used is not good. I wonder if we have that ability to deduce, to break down these components to molecules and say, okay, this molecule was used and this molecule is bad. So these are concerns. However, we're told that GMOs are operational in Nigeria. And my advice would be that Nigerians start farming in their backyards like we used to do in the 80s and the 90s. But Mr. Onah, my time is up. I would say thank you. It's been a wonderful session with you. It's been a wonderful session.
Okay. Kalada, thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Onah.
Sorry for any slips.
No. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Bye. I'm sorry I couldn't take calls. I just wanted to glean as much as I could. There is the economic factor to it. There is the fact that we don't even know what we're getting into. But there are talks that Nigeria is looking at embracing GMO foods. But what are your thoughts on it? Maybe I'll take them to 6 o'clock hour if time permits. Just stay tuned.